Welcome to On the Other Hand. In this video, a channel called Vox talks about why you shouldn't drive slowly in the left lane. I realize this is not a recent video, but it was fairly popular and it's one I wanted to cover.
So there are basically two types of drivers in the world. There are people who get really upset about all the people driving slowly in the left lane.
That's Joey. He fits in the first group.
And then there are a lot of drivers who have no idea that this is even a problem.
Yeah, that was me. Sorry about that. I don't drive much.
This false dichotomy shows a preference for brevity over thoroughness in my opinion. On the other hand, they could have said there are two types of drivers who follow the law and drivers who don't. This might have worked for the point about following the laws they make at the end of their video, but it would have brought complications into the relative standards they use in the middle of their video. Either way, dichotomies are often strawmen or oversimplified.
The truth is, when drivers hang out on the left lane, it makes traffic worse and more dangerous for everybody involved. Here's what that looks like.
I agree that not following laws, standards, and norms of driving can lead to worse traffic and more dangerous situations. On the other hand, this video segment seems a poor example of just showing that driving slowly in the left lane is bad. First, we see a car who probably didn't check their blind spot before trying to move over. This would have been mitigated had the truck not been there, but also would have been mitigated if the blind spot had been checked. The second clip shows presumably the same car driving on the shoulder, then causing an accident. Again, this might have been mitigated if the truck in the left lane had not been, quote, driving slowly in the left lane. But trying to use the shoulder as an extra passing lane seems more like a person who is blatantly disregarding the law, rather than the truck, as was earlier implied, seems to be oblivious to passing lane rules.
If you have relatively slow drivers scattered amongst the right and left lanes, faster drivers have to repeatedly slow down and weave back and forth, changing lanes many times to pass all of them. So if you're going 5 miles slower than everyone else and you're traveling in the left lane, it forces them to make dangerous moves trying to pass you on the right, which is more likely to cause an accident.
I don't love the vague use of, quote, slow drivers and fast drivers in this scenario. On the one hand, I agree that people driving slower than the other drivers should try to move over to the right. This is basic etiquette. On the other hand, if the, quote, slow drivers are driving the speed limit and the, quote, fast drivers are speeding, it's true cars shouldn't be hanging out in the passing lane, but speeding drivers seem to be the ones making the situation more dangerous, not necessarily the, quote, slow drivers. It also says that if you are going 5 miles slower than everyone else, it forces fast drivers to make dangerous moves to pass you on the right. On the other hand, those who are, quote, forced to make dangerous moves could slow down a bit, be patient, and not do something that's dangerous. Then it re-shows the clip from earlier as an example of, quote, forcing them to make dangerous moves to pass you on the right, from a video where the car made a dangerous decision to pass on the left.
Some people argue that as long as they're going the speed limit, they shouldn't have to move over. But there's evidence that slowing down and changing lanes is actually more dangerous than speeding. Research has shown that the strongest predictor of an accident is variance from the average speed of traffic. And a car going 5 miles per hour slower than the surrounding traffic has a greater chance of causing an accident than one going 5 miles per hour faster.
Now here's my bias. I tend to prefer following the speed limit and all other laws when possible, rather than conforming to the norm of what other drivers are doing around me. That being said, I have my own share of road rage when others are either going below the speed limit or tailgating me when I am going the speed limit. I feel this video does a disservice of oversimplifying the problem. Yes, following laws of the passing lane are important, but speed limits and driving safely are also important. So there are often tricky situations, like when a slow vehicle is trying to pass a slower vehicle when there are only 2 lanes. Another tricky situation is when the far left lane is a carpool lane, and then the passing lane is the second lane in. This generally means that the further left you are in the road, the faster you are going, but also that the carpool lane is generally where you go to set on cruise control and stay in that lane for a while. So when setting cruise control, do you follow the set speed limit, or do you speed and follow more closely the speed of the cars closest to you? And do you trust that those who are going faster than you are truly just passing in the passing lane, or are they using the passing lane as a speeding lane? Again, I feel there is a false dichotomy presented. Either you slow down and change lanes, or you speed. On the other hand, couldn't one argue that both are bad? Yes, slowing down and changing lanes might be more dangerous than speeding, but speeding is also more dangerous than not speeding. It then references the laws that say you shouldn't, quote, drive slowly in the left lane, which I agree with. Then, as it starts to wrap up, it uses this lane and speed reason for why the Autobahn is so safe.
A good example of this is the German Autobahn. So this is Germany's highway network, which has long stretches of road with no speed limits, and it has surprisingly low accident rates. One reason for this, some researchers think, is that German drivers are more likely to stay in the right lane for traveling and only use the left for passing.
That shared norm helps keep them safe.
I agree with the researchers that say that German lane usage helps safety. But on the other hand, correlation does not equal causation, and a control for the study is possibly provided in the research, but it isn't presented. In conclusion, on the one hand, don't be a jerk and drive slowly in the passing lane. On the other hand, don't be a jerk and tailgate someone who is following the speed limit. As always, thanks and hope you enjoyed.